Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Welcome in to Discover Crypto in the cataclysm of a lifetime for altcoins as Bitcoin is dumping and a handshake felt across the world has shooken markets. Now, apparently, peace deals and trade negotiations are bearish for Bitcoin? Question mark. What is going on in the world today? Welcome one, welcome all to the show. We got a jam-packed episode for you today. Obviously, got a little bit of an upgrade to the internal studio here. I'm super excited about. Tried to make it a little bit spicier, but the man with some reason and cool, calm, collected thoughts, Kelly Kellum, kept me off the edge. How you doing, Kelly? You feeling good?
Well, you know, I was just thinking about this thing here. It says hodl. I think it just means hold the H. It means only dropping lower, son. The markets are frustrating the living hell out of everybody, but you know what? I think this is the trap of all traps manifesting to catch the trap. So we're going to be breaking down why it looks so bearish and is there any hope in the charts? But I'm actually feeling pretty good. A little exhausted with social media fatigue, but we're here. We're the family, Discover Crypto family. Hit that like button.
Absolutely, man. And you know, I started my channel in the depths of the bear market of Bitcoin's last fall down to $15,000. My core community is not shooken up about this, but there are many, many people out there that are wondering if the music has indeed stopped. Well, we're going to take a look at all of the metrics, all of the signals going off in the macroeconomic implications. Are they actually going to do quantitative easing and inject market money for the real risk assets to rise, or is it just going to be helping out banks to survive? Let's dive into everything now. We do have the markets looking a little bit painful right now. We have Bitcoin, $107,400. Honestly, not too bad, right? 107,400 is not a bad spot, but it was a 4% fall today. Trump also let everyone know we're going to be testing out nuclear weapons here in the United States. So that's just a wonderful addition to the fall today. Ethereum, 6% down at $3,700. BNB still above $1,000, and XRP down to $2.45. And XR people feel like it's the end, but they're falling just as hard as Solana's. What do you call Solana's people? They're kind of like, they don't have really a name, right? What do we call the Solana crew? They need a gang name, don't
Something
they?
like you know, you got the game Soul Forge.
Yeah.
Something soul. It's got to be, the Soul Snatchers. I don't know.
Soul Sultans. I don't know. The Sultan of Soul. That was a terrible name, and you need to move on from that. Oh my God. Cardano not doing great either. 60 cents flat. Soulmates. Hey. All right. We just
and actually soldiers. Hello. God, this keeps moving.
Soldiers. I like it. Let me know in the chat. What are we going to call the Solana army? Because they exist. There are many, many Solana. Very nice. Very, very nice. Now, it's at $183. Honestly, guys, like, we really take a deep breath. Look at the graph. Really doesn't look that bad of a graph. Okay. This is not that bad of a graph. Higher lows looks fine to me. Coiling up, previous all-time highs, much stronger than it's ever been. But people are going to freak out with where we're at right now. Chainlink still hanging out just at about $17, just $16 right now. And actually some of the gainers here, Aerodrome Finance. I put a video out last night explaining why Aerodrome is rising like the cream to the top. If you didn't get a chance to check out the video, I do implore you to check it out on our nightly video uploads. It was it was undervalued. Okay. A lot of people missed this great alpha, and there's a lot of things happening for Aerodrome. There's always things happening for Chainlink. So make sure to go check out this video, you guys. It's this one with Jamie Dimon and his greasy head. He's holding an Aerodrome token. What else could you want? Now, the markets, they don't look so great. We get the trade deal with China, rate cuts, ending quantitative tightening, and this is what it looks like. Not a great scene. We go over and over to Coin 360, and it is a sea of red other than meme core here. Absolute chaos. And some of the bigger altcoins are in dark red, meaning that they are down by more than 5%. The market's feeling a little bit of pain. And with that pain, people are trying to make it all back. Machi brother hammered into some major longs, liquidated 3 times in just this morning. His losses exceed $14 million. And this is just a general lesson. First lesson, if you want to get into leverage trading, I highly implore you to join me and Kelly in the morning on the Market Open Trading Discord shows. We've been very, very good about insulating our team from being liquidated in this crazy environment. And I know shorts are slapping right now. I am very, very hard to shake off my bullish expectations for the market. But over the last few days, I have indeed made it clear to batten down the hatches and protect your trading bags. That means, you know, we don't have a lot of juice in the market that's looking to push us up right now. And I do like this. Buying spot instead of longing is a better way to sleep at night. If you're not used to trading and you just want to have exposure to the market, buying spot and holding is the best long-term play. And another guy that's been doing a very, very big long-term play is Michael Saylor. He's come out talking about Bitcoin going 10x. Let's digest this. But also after this, I want to dive into a lot of underlying on-chain metrics that Kelly's got together for us. He works tirelessly every single day for you guys to give you the alpha on what's happening with the whales, with the big accounts, and how they're acting right now in this recent market downturn. But let's check out Mr. Saylor himself to hear what he's got to say about his favorite Bitcoin.
The industry is going to 10x. It's going to increase by a factor of 10 based upon activities that are taking place at JP Morgan, at Wells Fargo, at Bank of America, at Morgan Stanley, you know, at BNY Mellon. It's the big household brands.
So right here, you know, it's a moment where he's talking about BNY Mellon being early, Kelly. He's talking about a lot of major organizations that are moving into Bitcoin. The average person, the shrimp, the smaller bag holders, they're scared out of their daylights from this market pullback. Can you kind of dive into what you're seeing? I did see one chart that you came across this morning that really needs to be understood, especially in this current market downturn. People are fleeing for their lives, and understandably so. It's a little scary. Give us your alpha and your thoughts on this, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, first off, what I'm seeing is the market doing this. Bitcoin falls and everybody else, it's like nothing changed in the altcoins, but it's just the fear and like the shock of panic because there's no real, I mean, we saw how thin the order books were, but also how much the liquidity was tied up when we saw that flash crash the other day. And nothing's, I mean, if you really just zoom out on the markets, nothing's really happened. Bitcoin has been trading sideways up in this range. I mean, yeah, we have this broadening wedge, but in reality, we've just been trading sideways at a slightly downward angle for, I mean, since all the way back here. That is, let's look at that. That is 114 days. The price has been just hovering up in this area. So when we get back to when we're looking at that, what I see is this. Retail investors are still parking capital in stablecoins. So not only is it in crypto, but we also see it in the broader stock market and equities and securities in the money market funds, where you get, I think it's like $7 to $9 trillion is parked in that capital until we get a slight change in the bond market and what's going on with the interest, with the yield rates on treasuries. People have all this sideline capital in both sectors of the market, traditional finance and in crypto. So when we look at Bitcoin, come back to this chart. When we look at Bitcoin, what we're seeing here is historically these hesitations of rotating back into risk, meaning you have capital on the sidelines, and this is talking about the rotation back in. That hesitation has been marked, it has marked some of Bitcoin's best accumulation zones. So what we're seeing here, retail stablecoin demand, people moving into stablecoins. This marks the setup for the next move. Look at this, that move from 74,000 down to 48,000 right there. This marked, boom, that setup before that next slingshot higher. And this, this was a small one. And then ultimately right here, when we went from 74, 48, and then 48 to 109, here we are again at that same sort of setup where there's a lot of money that's still in the crypto market, but it's being
Right.
parked in dry powder in stable coins. And it's not just that metric. We also see it right here. We're currently seeing the level of on-chain profit taking reducing to neutral levels, according to Bitcoin SOPR. This is spent output profit ratio. So are you selling in profit or loss? Essentially is what this is saying. And you see these large profit spikes here when people sell in profit, and you get this weakness until ultimately, boom, this flips and comes up. We're seeing the same sort of reduction here with already a little bit of a blip here, much like we saw here before the ultimate reversal. There's one more chart, this one right here. Okay, this is sort of it's almost like a baby whale. Not quite a whale, but let's be honest. Wouldn't you be happy if you had 100 Bitcoin or more? That seems like a pretty large amount. It's large enough that even Michael Saylor with the strategy acquisitions as of late have been in the 40 to 200 Bitcoin sort of range. And we're seeing the addresses, the number of addresses out there with more than 100 Bitcoin has been on a steady, not only steady, but exponential boom raise here, increase exponentially all the way from the $48,000 level up to $126,000 level. And these wallets are only growing at an exponential rate. So I'm feeling quite bullish as to where we're at right now. I think we're in a max confusion because there's a lot of conflicting signals with gold and with the S&P 500. And we got the rate cut. By the way, my bad yesterday with misreading it for the first 9 seconds. That was
crazy.
That was a funny little jolt. But no, we got the rate cut. The President Trump and the Premier President Xi of China seem like they're getting back onto good equal footing, which is removing some of that tension. We still have the government shutdown, but I just have this feeling, and this feelings have generally hit for me, that sometime in the next 7 to 15 days, I think we're going to start seeing a pretty large reversal, and it's going to leave a lot of people in the dust. I think this is the bear trap of the ages.
Yeah. And this is a crazy graph to look at here. Addresses with more than 100 Bitcoin. And I do want to kind of ask the chat here. So let's say you have the opportunity to run naked through the mall for just 3 minutes and you would get 100 Bitcoin. Would you be willing to run through a fully operational public mall to receive 100 Bitcoin, right?
Well, here's the question though. Is this a fully operational public mall today or in 1995 when they actually had a lot of people in them?
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Like there's really kind of not a lot of people around. When we think about market downturns, I really want people to understand this. So in the COVID crash of 2020, everybody I knew told me I made the wrong choice by putting my life savings into Bitcoin on that flash crash. Every single person. Now, half of those people have reached out and they've become involved. And, you know, people ask me, maybe they feel like this at the time being. But that movement and having time in the market changed my life. Moving forward in the face of fear and uncertainty and doubt is how I've already changed my family's trajectory forever. Now, when we are in this current time frame, Kelly highlighted, we've been over $100,000 for more than 100 days. I think we're at like 115 days right now. And adoption from banks, from central banks being interested, from sovereign wealth funds being interested. And there are people giving up at the last 10 yards behind the goal here. And they're sitting here trying to drink, you know, whatever the hell that is.
They told me October it was going to change my life. Well,
it's
right,
just,
you know,
it's short-sightedness. I do feel like the short-sightedness, the massive fear, the shakeout that's happening right now is something that I've been working on insulating this community from for years, but there's new participants, there's new people that just got into the markets. Maybe they bought high and they're seeing the crash down to $70,000 as a reason to sell their Bitcoin. I would absolutely adore a crash of that magnitude down to $60,000, $70,000. Delicious. I am moving in. I am buying as much Bitcoin that is a previous market top. If this is the top, great. But I really don't think that things are set up that way. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to outtrade BlackRock on a basic 4-year cycle now that they're involved. That is my personal opinion about it.
Well, on that note, it's this might look silly, but do you remember what this is? Remember these laser pointers, late 90s? Yeah. Okay, the reason why I brought this up, sounds ridiculous, but think about this laser pointer. Any of you that were in school age, high school or college, it's just like a silly expense that almost everybody was participating in of some degree, whether it was this or Pokemon cards or something ridiculous. So my question for everybody, you too, Drew, myself included, we're frustrated right now, and yet none of us are doing everything we can to situate ourselves in the best possible position. It doesn't matter whether it's getting dry powder into stablecoins, holding Bitcoin, getting your first purchase. But when you look at if you look back at the last 3 months of your life, and you identify necessary spending, meaning things that you absolutely need to live, necessities, and then the movie tickets, the extra dinners out, the extra lunches out, the laser pointers, whatever they are in your life right now, meaning the silly things that just add meaningless entertainment that are literally just capital drain on your future. Every dollar you spend right now, I look at it like, man, I'm stealing $10,000 from my future because this could be put to better work. Now, on the flip side of that, we still have the sensibility that we're humans and we need entertainment. We need to do dumb things sometimes. We need to go to a movie. We need to take our wife or our husband or our girlfriend or our family out to eat to dinner. But the question is, how much of it is in balance to where you're doing it for actual balance within your life versus distracting yourself from what you need to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a situation, I got a lot of kids and I spend all kinds of money on them. Really in trading, my goal is just to make 1 to 2, maybe 3% of a Bitcoin per week. I keep my leverage trading account thin and lean so that every time I have that mark hit, I clean off those wins, I put them away, and I keep moving forward. And really, the thing that I think people are most stressed out about right now is they've been searching for the next deep altcoin pick. There are 25 million projects, altcoins now. There's a fraction of the liquidity in each one of these projects. What we've seen is basically a massive, massive expansion of the amount of coins when really the same $3.5 to $4 trillion is just sloshing from one sector to the next, right? So staying up on the vibe of, what trends are coming up are important, but in the long term, easier sleep at night, spot buying Bitcoin makes a whole hell of a lot more sense than all of that stuff. And as you guys know, I don't hold a giant bag of a bunch of different altcoins. It's a very, very strong bag of a few specific altcoins. What should I say? Yeah, this is exactly it. Should you say, what do you sell your Bitcoin into, right?
Well, this is what it says. Should I sell my Bitcoin? No, which is this color right here. Also, no, but in orange. No, because Bitcoin is eating every other asset alive. When you look at gold priced in Bitcoin, when you look at real estate, when you look at anything that is priced in Bitcoin, except for small periods of time where you get some like Bitcoin, gold has gone parabolic this last year. But when you look at it priced over the last 15 years, everything is trending aggressively down. I don't want to say towards zero, but towards mass devaluation in the eyes of being priced in Bitcoin. So I think I'm very excited still about the altcoin market. I think it's very peak frustration right now because there's been so much capital attention and the changing landscape. But we're starting to get all those things sort of cleared up. I think it would blow me away if we had another 1 year long bear market in 2026.
No, I love this comment. This channel is in damage control 24/7. I've been trying to insulate people from damage by getting them focused on altcoins that have revenue. Okay. Instead of, I had a request to do some TA on like PopCat or something like that. These meme coins, TA means nothing. What matters is how the insiders feel that day or that week. If they feel like pumping it or if they feel like dumping it. Right. So now we have to move on to some of the pressures, some of the reasons why Bitcoin is falling so hard, because there is no denying it is falling.
Well, but I do want to highlight though, Honda here said, bear in mind, we are dumping on good news. At the same time, what gives me a sort of a bullish sort of like buoy in my heart about what's happening, Bitcoin's having a little bit of a sell-off, but look at the ETH to Bitcoin pairing. this is still holding up on the upper side of this trend range that it pushed up into. It's still holding in this sort of bull flag, semi-megaphone, but this bull flag structure. Could it drop a bit more? Sure, it could. It could drop all the way down to here, but we'd still be maintaining a much higher low. We're actually looking probably kind of remarkably well for how altcoins are performing right now in terms of Bitcoin having a little bit of a drop. It gives me actually a little bit more hope in terms of what's happening here in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And there's good reason why the market rolled over today, you guys. Okay. There's some pretty crazy stories that came out. We got to acknowledge the nutsness. Let's get here. Bam, bam. So President Trump has instructed the Department of War to start testing U.S. nuclear weapons immediately. And the Kremlin did respond not liking this information. So regardless of the long, strong handshake that President Trump and President Xi of China had yesterday, this handshake was the shake that was felt across the world. And interestingly enough, Xi Jinping tried to get out of this very, very early. We're going to just analyze this real quick. He comes up, Trump reaches out. All right, so they got the handshake. Xi tries to get away. Nope, not happening. Holding on. And they sit there holding this handshake for 22 seconds. So we covered the poly market bets yesterday. Someone that knew Trump was willing to hold on for nearly half of a minute. What's that? Oh, I have it still going here. Someone who bet on that made an ass load of money, right? Someone who made that big bucket of money. But this bad news of us getting ready to test nuclear weapons is not a great thing. It's not helping. And it's a situation where I would rather have very strong leadership in negotiation with President Putin, President Xi. A lot of people are sitting here, oh, I wish I had Kamala Harris in control of this. Xi and Putin would not even listen to what Kamala Harris was saying. So it is unfortunate. It's part of the truth of the matter. And I said Trump was going to make an omelet by breaking a couple eggs. He sent a Patriot missile and hit my coop. I acknowledge that. But you know what? This is something that I've seen happening to Americans for many, many years, outsourcing our manufacturing, our production ability to China, and it needs to change. It's not going to be an easy change. It's not going to be a quick change, but it is going to institute trillions and trillions of dollars of printing, pushing the fiat dollar to a near hyperinflationary level over the next 10 years. This is why I insulate my family and our buying power from the near hyperinflationary storm to come. And on ETH, and we got to talk about this. This, Kelly, your screen, this.
You must learn to proceed without certainty because nothing's guaranteed. The only thing that we know is that the dollar has no top. So the dollar has no bottom, so Bitcoin has no top. Why does the dollar have no bottom? Because they never stop printing. And I do want to highlight, we're going to come back to this in just one moment, right here. The Fed, this is all fake. Everything that's going on right now is fake. You know how they're talking about their quantitative tightening and they're rolling off their balance sheet? Do you guys realize every time they add something to their balance sheet, they don't buy it? I mean, they do buy it, but with what money? They do it with money that they say, hey, let's put some money in this account. They just code it in. Mm-hmm. It's basically fake money printing that then they go buy the asset. And then when there's trouble and then they're trying to roll off their balance sheet, they're selling an asset that they bought for free with fake money they created. So when you realize that and you come back over to this right here, you have to realize that, and I did a post about this. We share lines, we share charts, we share patterns. Those do give some sort of reasonable amount of idea about what's happening. But at the end of the day, the market, we've seen it this cycle. The market is following Trump's speaking engagements and his tweets more than it's following some fib bounce or, support and resistance and the money flow. All those things can lead into probability, but it's very interesting because people keep saying, oh man, I'll get in at this price. And it's like, no, I'm going to wait for a better price. And then you miss it again. Well, it's this bell curve that just keeps happening, seesawing people out of the market. So you must learn to proceed without certainty.
So I have an exciting moment that just happened for me, Kelly. This is my first official deportation Oh, damn it. I don't have the deport button. All right.
You are banned.
All right. There you go.
Drew is
Pablo.
going nuclear.
I am. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm just a little bit tired of people that haven't been paying attention to what I've been saying out of my mouth. They come on this show and they act like I haven't been working on giving people a heads up on the situation that we are in right now. And they come in like they basically know exactly what I've been saying for the last 4 years. You don't. And you also don't know that I wrote about COVID in 2014. You don't know that I called Ukraine in 2016. You don't know a lot of shit that I've called out in this world. And I'm telling you flat to your face that this country, the United States, is about to print 10 to 20 trillion dollars to institute AI and data centers. And they're also within that going to be moving towards hardback currency of Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, probably going to get half of that bag through confiscations. This is why cold custody is king. This is why we have a sponsor, Arculus, right? Where's the thing? Arculus. Use cold custody because Bitcoin, just like gold, is based in physics. The electricity that it costs to mine Bitcoin within the largest nations on the planet usually dictates the bottom floor price. You can say, oh, it's all in the charts, all my little lines, they're just premonitions. Well, you are not taking into account the macroeconomic situation that is at hand. We are currently in stagflation. This is why gold went to $4,500, $4,400. This is why hard assets are going to reign king, and the U.S. has to refinance their debt over the course of the next 6 months, and they cannot do it at this current interest rate. This is why the insanity of Jerome Powell cutting interest rates into inflation is happening right now. Me and Kelly have covered this ad nauseum, and it drives me a little nuts when people don't acknowledge that. So go ahead.
And you know what? I got a hot take on that too. I shared this earlier today. Where did it go? Right here. The hot take. The Fed they actually want to cause labor disruption. If you think about it, they say their mandate is inflation, keeping it down, and keeping the labor market strong. But let's be honest, the interest rates, when they rise interest rates at the Fed, do you think that really directly, immediately is impact? Like the average person that's working at McDonald's, they're like, oh man, the interest rate hikes, I'm going to spend less. No, it doesn't affect them whatsoever, except for months down the line when businesses have a harder time with capital. So then the labor force actually constricts because of the Fed interest rates. So they cause the tightening labor force, and then they try to soften it through their policies. And you can see it on this chart. Every time we've had these cuts, look at this. It's also led into a recession. It's also led into a recession. And so here we go. We're getting these cuts. Are we about to have a recession? It feels like we're in a tale of two worlds, where it's the same thing with Bitcoin in the 4-year cycle, where everybody's debating, one, the historical trend of recessions following rate cuts, and two, the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin. We're ending the bull market right now. On the other hand, it also feels like we have an administration that we've never had in this situation, where all the chairs on the Titanic are getting replaced at the same exact moment, not one at a time in various different rooms. We've shuffled the entire geopolitical landscape and controls and how things are operating in this world. And tariffs are a big part of that. And I think the broader market, TradFi and crypto, are all in some ways falling victim to it in various and very nuanced different ways. But I don't see them not running this market hot into next year.
Yeah. And, you know, it's just reading some of the thoughts, like, I talk too much. Usually I'm a listener. If you haven't noticed, usually I'm a listener. I absorb what people are saying and then make my decisions from there. And I think it's time to talk about altcoins. What do you say, Kelly? The altcoins are hurting bad. Tom Lee dropped some hopium off the top shelf that, I mean, it's what the people need. It's what the people need. Let's listen to this. So this is Tom Lee talking about Ethereum. Let's have a listen to what he's got to say. This guy is pretty good at predicting.
That would put Ethereum at around 21,000 per token. Ethereum, we've been writing about, is probably in a super cycle, similar to what happened to Wall Street in 1971. Because in 1971, the US withdrew from the gold standard. So the dollar became actually synthetic, completely synthetic. So Wall Street stepped in to make sure the dollar stayed the reserve currency. So they built futures, CDs, money markets, and it succeeded because within 10 years, even though the dollar was only 27% of GDP, it became 53% of central bank reserves and 80% of all financial market quotes. So the yen didn't win, the Deutsche Mark didn't win, or the French franc. In 2025, we're tokenizing more than just the dollar. The stable coin is the breakout product, which is a tokenized dollar. But as you know, Larry Fink, Robinhood, they want to tokenize everything on the blockchain, and they're going to build it on a neutral public chain, which is right now 70% of that is happening on Ethereum. So Ethereum is experiencing that same 1971 moment where Wall Street's rebuilding everything onto a blockchain, which we think it'll be Ethereum. Ethereum could recover its Bitcoin Ethereum ratios, 2021 highs. That would put Ethereum at around 21,000 per token. So it's I think an undervalued.
This is very big what he's saying. Now, the timeline, I think, is where I can argue against. $21,000 Ethereum, should they tokenize stock markets, the literal US economy, which Paul Atkins of the SEC comes out pretty forward and, bluntly, they do intend to tokenize all assets right now. They are working towards that. It's a matter of how long it takes to get there. And if Ethereum can retain that dominance in the realm of RWAs for when that time does come. But I want to know from you in the chat, do you think that Ethereum is going to remain the main spot for real world assets to find their tokenization within? Or do you think another contender, say Solana or XRP, is going to come in and be the winner when it comes to tokenizing assets here in America? Because that's what matters. It's the largest economy on the planet that is aggressively competing with China to do this first. I want to know from the chat, is this insanity? Who thinks that Ethereum is going to actually continue to hold this off? Some people think ICP is going to make it. Kryptoni, let me guess, Caspa's going to do it. Let's see here. Every BTC counts. Ethereum. Honda says maybe. Give me an answer. John Bro says, all right. Joe Bro says Solana. I think that I think it's in between Ethereum and Solana for the tokenization of assets across the board. What say you, Kelly?
I mean, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty mixed bag. I think Ethereum is going to be the dominant one. I think it's going to be Ethereum's going to be the dominant layer one blockchain that really services stablecoins and real world asset tokenization. I think Solana is going to be a very major player in that field as well. And I think Avalanche is also going to majorly take a big chunk of that. But I want to highlight something on Ethereum real quick, because as frustrating as it may feel for everybody, look at this pattern similarity. This is 2019, 2020. And this is where we're at right now. I want you to notice something. I'm going to delete that line. I'm going to go ahead and just copy, paste, and I'm going to take that sort of chart structure of how that's played out. This fall, rise, dump deeper, and then launch into a bull flag. Fall, rise, dump deeper, launch into a bull flag. It feels very much like we're setting up right here in this cycle, similarly with what we'd be doing here, which would very much be in line with what Tom Lee's saying. All of a sudden having this, what feels like comes out of nowhere, this massive sort of boom out of this. Now, this doesn't mean that ETH can't dip a little bit deeper into this, but we're doing very similar chart structure. And this is also equally highlighted when we talked about this sort of the others chart, which is everything outside of the top 10. Very similar structure that we saw here with that final washout that we finally got, which is so similar. In fact, I think I have it better on this one right here. Now let me zoom out on this. There we go. Very similar. This PUMP launch. PUMP launch. Are we going to take one of these paths? I think so. Some people are bearish, thinking we're going to do this. I think the worst we would do is number 4, but I'm more in line with somewhere between 2 and 3, meaning everything outside of the top 10 gets somewhere between 800 billion and basically about $1 trillion to $2 trillion, somewhere in this range. And ETH is going to be the driver on that.
Yeah. I mean, ETH is driving the boat when it comes to altcoins. And we did have some integrations, some upgrades happen. Okay. And we may as well cover them. Ondo Finance, reliant on Chainlink. There you go. So Ondo Finance selected as Chainlink as the Oracle of infrastructure.
Shout out. We got a major super chat here from Patrick Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell here, $50 super chat. And that's not doll hairs. That's not Czechoslovakian pesos. That is dollars. Lunch on me in San Diego. Well, I appreciate it. I think we might have lunch next to you, but not on you. We do appreciate the super chat, though, keeping the lights on here.
Oh, Lord. I saw this Ondo Finance using Chainlink as an oracle, and it seemed kind of like a duh. I will say IBM coming out and saying that Chainlink is basically the default oracle sets precedent among, which crypto oracle is actually going to win in the long term here. This is why Chainlink has been a mainstay on the portfolio that is out here fighting in this alt season, right? Bitcoin, I don't even consider part of the portfolio. It's for the kids. It's gone. It's there. So when I look at Chainlink, I feel like it's already won. It's just a matter of time before the market realizes it. But there are some projects that you have been covering for a while, Kelly, and I've been covering for a while. Bitensor Tau. And the price action on Bitensor Tau, yes, it makes me cry because I called it out at $40, but it's been holding up very, very well in terms of price. And it looks like it's gearing up for its halving event, the first Tau halving event coming up on December 10th. Network's going to be obviously having a halving where you get half the rewards for the mining of it, but also they're seeing a strong performance ahead of this milestone. A lot of AI infrastructure being built out on Tau. Can we actually look at some of the data, some of the charts for Tau to see how it's doing right now in light of all of these other coins kind of rolling over here?
Yeah, I mean, here's Tau, and what I'd love to really highlight here is you talked about the halving. BitTensor has 21 million tokens, very similar to Bitcoin. It also has a halving on a scheduled halving. I believe, I don't know if it's every 4 years, but the way the Tau ecosystem is built and designed is very similar or reminiscent of the Bitcoin ecosystem. In addition to that, they have subnets, so it's not just the token Tau. Is it going to go up or down? They have subnets within the BitTensor ecosystem, in the Tau ecosystem, that they themselves, if they were in the private industry, traditional finance sort of corporate sector, they would be valued at hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a piece. Not to even mention, that's not included in the value of what you're seeing in the market cap of BitTensor. And as the market, the broader market starts to understand that, I do think that's also going to push the price and the valuation of BitTensor up. But when you look at Tau here on the weekly, this is what we're seeing. Beautiful downtrend that has been broken out of. And this goes all the way back to November, when we had that fake little, it's alt season, and then we've only been in a downtrend since. Well, we have broken out of that. That's the weeklies. But people want to know what's happening today. Well, I just want you to notice we had a massive reversal out of that liquidation event on October 10th. I think it was probably among, if not the best performing in the top 100 coins, and how that responded. But now, so you can kind of ignore that wick now. We're seeing this break out of this. It's already retested that downtrend, previous resistance, now support, and it's kind of forming a bit of a symmetrical triangle in this area. But we can't just look at price. What does RSI say? That we're on the 4 hour, money flow is coming back up. The RSI has lost 50. So basically, you have a bullish and a bearish signal. It's kind of neutral. So you got to go out to a little bit larger time frame. RSI in this case is still hanging above this 50, basically strength and control line. That's basically this marker here. Money flow is positive, but it is shrinking dramatically. If this looks like it's set up, and people are going to hate me, this looks like it's set up in the very near term to go either direction. There are bullish signals, there are bearish signals, but in the next, I'm talking about like out of the next 3 days.
Right.
But if we're looking, if we're going to look at this on the 1 hour, what is the signal? 1 hour signals bearish. Got a double top. RSI has clearly lost the 50 line. Money flow is coming out. This looks like it wants to take a little bit of a swing lower in the immediate near term.
Yeah, just from the actual mechanics of how Bitensor Tau operates, and the people that are absolutely set on making sure that Tau is one of the main winners in AI crypto projects, being Barry Silbert and Grayscale. This project's given me a lot of signals that it's going to be one of the big winners in AI. And it's super hard to pick out the winners in AI because there's so many of them. But I know that what I see from the amount of money being poured into the AI infrastructure in general, there's going to be lots of room to run for the right AI projects. It's just about picking the right ones. And, this X402 ecosystem came out for base. It's been growing really fast. And this is a pretty interesting article, why the X402 protocol didn't fade after the ping hype and what's driving the second wave. So X402.
Dude, I have to pause you. Did you see this? Look at this.
Yeah, it's growing very fast. It's very new. It's
Yeah,
very
it's
new.
very new, but this is an amazing, amazing, people become aware of it and then boom. I mean, this is a massive, massive, almost instantaneously and following up as well. And so that this is going to be something absolute to watch. And I'm glad that you've really making sure that it's on people's radar.
No, absolutely. I mean, it came to a lot of people, it came out of nowhere. So we need to go through this and really talk about it. Okay. So buckle up. Everyone complains to me about not finding 10Xs, not finding ecosystems with massive growth. There's a brand new ecosystem that just came out on Base, child of Coinbase. You think Coinbase is going to fail? You're kidding yourself. So X402 is a straightforward way to enable pay per use on the internet. When you access a paid application program interface, an API or file, the server responds with the web's built-in 402 payment required message, specifying the price, often just a few cents in USDC, and where to send the payment. I have been using this for an AI agent that's actually been analyzing Bitcoin's price. I've done it a few days in a row. This project and this AI analysis has been really great. It's been spot on. I add my human inputs to it, and we come in the middle, and it's been a really fantastic tool to add to my trading bag. You send on-chain payments to your wallet, you repeat the request, and the server delivers the result. There are no accounts, passwords, API keys, or monthly plans, just a one-time payment that's linked to a specific request. And now they're talking about the second wave, the next iteration of this. It's not a new idea. The 402 status code has existed in HTTP for years, but it lacked the practical blueprints until now. Coinbase packaged a clear protocol around it, and the company published a documentation code offering a managed gateway for developers. After Cloudflare partnered up with Coinbase to co-launch this, formalizing the standard and bringing support to mainstream developer tools. You may have just heard about X402 when the token called Ping drew attention to it. I will say there are many, many very strong AI agent applications that have just came out that operate off of this. And it is a very, very cool new advancement to the internet that we know of, not just for price action, but for literal tools that I use. I'm a musician. I have an AI agent that's literally able to figure out if it's got different ideas about where lyrics can go on the same music. I can get some BTC analysis first thing in the morning, get different RSIs, different Fibonacci sequences from the AI's perspective, compare them to my human thought, and then make my decision from there. It makes me a much more powerful producer in terms of music and crypto content, making the right decisions for these crazy times the market's having right now. Now, the utility combined with the new tooling for AI agents can pay for automatically, driving that second wave and focused on real usage rather than price charts. I really do implore you, if you don't know how to use AI agents, please, for the love of God, start figuring it out. Because you see Microsoft and Google doing extreme levels of revenue while mass layoffs are happening. You see the rollout of AI replacing tons of different jobs. And if you don't know how to handle these AI systems, how to be the person that's operating them, you're going to be left in the dust. I don't want to see that happening.
I mean, here's a chart that exemplifies it. This chart absolutely exemplifies it. And this is NVIDIA's market cap since ChatGPT was released. Now, I want you to ask yourself a question. NVIDIA, which is not OpenAI, why would their market value, why did their market cap go up $4.6 trillion since back here late 2022? Because what happened when ChatGPT was released was you had a mass viral moment where people realize immediately the use case and the forward projection growth in use case and the needed compute and power that is tied to those use cases looking forward. So NVIDIA, when you look at the reduction in jobs numbers and UPS and Amazon and all these workforces that are downgrading right now because they're replacing people with agents, essentially NVIDIA is going to become this workhorse in some ways. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or good or bad. This is just a fact when you're looking at investments. It's essentially absorbing a percentage of every business that is out there and basically shrinking their cost basis for productivity and man hours into singular costs that have far less maintenance requirements over time and no PR issues. So on the one hand, people would say, I can't, like unions, I get it. You work as a longshoreman. You know what? We're going to boycott. They cannot use AI to load these ships. It's like, well, what business would not look to drive things that's going to build stronger profit margins? It's just the way things go. There used to be people that plowed fields. There used to be people that had to walk alongside cars. They had to be a flagger to walk alongside a car because of regulations, because cars were displacing horses. And then, you know, as we've seen technology grow, every iteration of new technology displaces some sort of labor force or some sort of workforce. So you've got to ask yourself, even if you're not an investor, if you are investing your time in a job, is your job going to be there in 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years? Why not start preparing yourself, whether it's cross-training or investing or anything other than sitting there and then saying, I'm a victim when it happens? It's all being telegraphed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to say that AI replacing people is good. I'm saying that it's coming regardless of what I want. And we need to find ways to make money and prosper over the course of not just the next 10 years, but continually, and learning market dynamics and what's going on, what's the hot button, what's the likely move for macro markets over the next 5 years, very important now, but also looking forward, biomedical, nanotechnology, life sciences, those types of things I think are going to offer the same upside we've seen in crypto in 2030 and beyond. So there's plenty of ways to make money. Getting wrapped up and freaking out about the moment at hand where Bitcoin's flopping and groping at a very important support level, $107,000, is not how you're going to make generational wealth. It is not. And if you don't have the ability to remove your emotions out of the equation and just understand how this world is moving, you're going to be left out. And if you're out there chasing these brand new projects that, you know, have no docs team members, have honeypots for, you know, the tokenomics like this, the Monad release, it approached zero before people could even access their airdrop yesterday. Incredible timing. Wonderful. The future of finance is at hand. VC extraction, once again, people just continually get into these extractionary environments, get destroyed, and wonder why nothing changes. The reason why none of this changes on the insiders dumping on you is because you keep giving them money. If you keep giving them money, they're going to keep dumping on you. That's basically my feeling about it, right? It's just like, why does this keep happening to me? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? You need to be able to understand that the VC dump on your head game has now been exposed. And if you haven't absorbed that information and adjusted the way that you get into projects, I don't know how to help you. I really, really don't. It's something that I've been talking about for years. I also called that Ethereum was going to be captured by Coinbase. What do we have? We have Coinbase rolling out Base Network, and the token's going to be coming for it soon. JP Morgan feels that Base Network is already worth $34 billion. The center of Base's network with the DeFi and the swaps and the liquidity is Aerodrome. It's a $900 million, even $800 million market cap, completely undervalued, but people just want to go chasing around everything that's got the next hottest bells and whistles on it. It is aggravating for me. I digress. I got to give a shout out to Veteran Crypto. Okay. So Veteran Crypto and Jeff, they're going to be doing this on Friday, I believe. They're going to be diving into Glider Fi. Now, when you learn about DeFi, I will emphasize DeFi is an extremely powerful tool to continue making money even when the bear market for altcoins return. Now, the bear market for Bitcoin might be a lot more short-lived than we expect. The altcoin bear market, I think, is going to be brutal and long once again. And DeFi is how you can build that passive income in the background to continue adding Satoshis to your wallet. So please do go check DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. They are a brother channel. They work very, very hard. They're very base dudes. And I think I'm gonna, where's our brother channels on? We have so many videos on our channel. I'm gonna go just find them here real quick. Give me a second here, because this is important. I need to emphasize this. Everyone keeps complaining, it's the bear market, it's so scary. DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, I learned all kinds from him about how to get involved in DeFi. This is the channel, DeFi Crypto Airdrop. It's a brother channel. And DeFi is the strongest tool we have to keep stacking sats in a bear market. So I do implore you to go check out that channel. It is very, very important. So now, Kelly, I saw you tag me in this China now requiring influencers to have degrees. This is kind of wild. China rolling out a new law requiring influencers to prove their qualifications before talking about topics like finance, health, or law. Well, you know what? In this situation, I don't have a degree in finance, and no one would have listened to me about COVID. No one would have listened
the
to me about
Harvard
the money.
economist Paul Krugman was saying that Bitcoin was worthless and it's going to go to zero. And then now Harvard is basically allocating a portion of their endowment into Bitcoin. So I don't think degrees are really relevant. I don't want to say not relevant, but I don't think there is the marker of the person that's giving you the best answer. We saw the censoring of doctors, and then not only censoring of doctors, but also doctors on the side of the people putting money in their pockets. I mean, think about all the things that you get medicated towards rather than doctors saying, because this does not give them money, hey, you need to get some sunshine. You need to get some sleep. You need to take a walk. You need to put down the damn burritos and chicken nuggets. Why can't that be a prescription for 90% of people in America, especially? How do we have such an obesity epidemic? It's ridiculous. And now we've got to, on the same time, I do want to highlight this before we wrap. We got this, yes, government shutdown, but is this going to be another major banking crisis? Because you keep highlighting this, Drew, that major banking, the negative situation we have with banking right now in terms of debt. Is the government, is this all orchestrated to put pressure on regional banks so we have the regional banking collapses here in the near future, here in the next week or 2, 3 weeks? This would be very interesting to watch here because, we got over 40 million people that are on benefits. And I'm not calling those people out, but I would wager less than half those people should be on those benefits. If you have an able body and you can work, there's no reason for you to be getting benefits that taxpayers are working to pay for your living while you're checking your damn benefits on your $1,400 iPhone. I'm going to leave it there. Otherwise, I'm going to get banned.
I understand. You got a big heart, Kelly, and I can understand. You think like half of them need to be on there. I'd probably put it at like 5 to 10%, right? So, and everyone's like, Drew for president. I'm just warning you, you do not want me as president. You will have a much different country. So, where we're at right now, Bitcoin's at $107,000. Okay. Now, if we really take a breath and look at this freaking chart as we're heading in, we're going to have Friday happen tomorrow. We have lost some pretty damn important zones. Now, where this overall analysis from this morning put me at is looking at 104,000. If we do not see the money flow flip back, and it looks god awful right now, $104,000, the baseline of this massive washout here, nearly the baseline of a lot of different washouts that we've had in the past, and the guts of this accumulation spot that we had when we originally hit 111,000 is a spot. There's a point of control within this range. It's a very important support level that we just experienced here. This is where I'm looking for a potential bounce and or reversal. It could happen within the range that it's at right now and end up looking like a set of higher lows. Fear is high. Emotions are high. Take a breath. Get a hobby. People are asking this question. The band name, we're looking at the band name Detonator, okay? They wanted to name it Detonator because they started to get to know me and the things that I talk about, the things that I'm interested in doing. And they're trying to call the band Detonator now. The other option was Tripod Annihilator. So really, if you have band name ideas that are better than Detonator for everything that I do, and mind you, the last heavy metal show that I did, I had a full kit on, including the belt. And the hard iron in it. This is my approach in life. I am an Americana maximalist. I think that the sovereignty of the individual matters over government intentions. I think that the community matters over federal intentions. And where we are in this world is that Bitcoin is opening up a channel for us to escape central bank control. While we sit here and flop and grope over our emotions of a $5,000 price swing on a $100,000 asset, remember this, that Bitcoin is disrupting systems of control that have been in place for centuries, if not thousands of years. And if you're going to let a 10% washout get you out of the market before it's completely adopted across the world, there is no saving you. I love you all. I say this with all the love in my heart. This is not going to be an easy process. Keep your crypto on cold custody, and we will see you very
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.